Alright guys, welcome back or welcome to the video, whichever the case may be. This is a little different than what I normally do. Uh, this is a transcript basically of the interview with Andrew Henderson of the Nomad Capitalist with Doug Casey. Doug Casey is most known for his couple of books, The International Man in '76 and Crisis Investing in 1979. He's a little outside the norm. He's kind of like a anarchist investor. But I thought it was an interesting interview, and so I chopped it up and just put it in bite-sized pieces for you, so you didn't, it was kind of a long interview. He's predicted an American revolution bigger than the 1960s coming. He thinks that his best financial option is separation from government, separation from pretty much all establishment. And a lot of businesses have done that. A lot of people have done that. Mark Moss, which is a very great channel on YouTube, he just recently moved from California to Puerto Rico. And I thought this was a pretty good interview. It's an option. I mean, if you have the ability to get a second passport, a third passport, or if you thought about it, I would throw this in the pool of consideration. Keep all your options open. That's the best you can do. So let me throw this interview out there. I'm going to try not to interrupt it. I have a tendency to do that. I'm going to try not to interrupt it and just let it play out because I chopped it up pretty good. I'll just put some visuals up there rather than interrupt the video. And if you want to just pause the video, you can read what I put up there. And let's give it a go.
I think we're on the cusp of what I call the Greater Depression. And a depression is a period of time when most people's standard of living drops significantly. And right now, we're in the eye of the storm. The government has printed up, well, not just the US government, but all the world's governments, printed up trillions and trillions of dollars of currency units. And it's given people an artificial sense of prosperity. If we deposited $10,000 in everybody's bank account tonight, they'd wake up and think they were a lot richer tomorrow. Well, they wouldn't be, but they would go out and start buying stuff and that would create a business cycle, giving all kinds of false signals to the economy. So I think we're at the cusp of something actually that's going to be the biggest disaster that we've seen. But these are very, very dangerous times. And this is just the lull before the storm right now as we speak. Because the world has become much more strictly regulated. And all passports today are government property that are all hooked up by computer systems so they know where you are and what you're doing everywhere, as you're well aware. So personal freedom is increasingly being flushed down the toilet. And this is one of the reasons why I say we're going into the Greater Depression. On the other hand, this whole thing about internationalizing yourself is very important because your biggest risks in the world today are not so much financial or economic, and those are huge, they're gigantic. Your biggest risks today are political. And the only way to get around them is to diversify politically, which is why, I have residences in 3 countries at the moment. And I suggest that everybody that's in a position to do that, do so. And if you're not in a position to do it, get into a position to do it. People don't realize that, they treat the government as if it's a magic entity of some type. They don't realize that the government is an organization like General Motors or the mafia that has its own interests. And they're antithetical to your interests, but still everybody treats the concept of the state with respect, which is very stupid. And they act as if they were plants. You're born in some country and you put roots down and you stay there. But acting like a plant is not intelligent for a human being. So a lot of people move up to the status of cattle. Most of them are, you're a good taxpayer. Well, actually, you're a milk cow at that point for the government. But if it becomes inconvenient, or if they feel like they need to do it, they'll transform you from a dairy cow, a milk cow, into a beef cow, which is not good. The nation states are going to cease to exist largely, I'd say within 50 years. It's basically your real countrymen are not people that you share government ID with. They're people that you share ideas with, whatever's important to you, whether that's your occupation or your religion, or it can be 1,000 different things. Well, let's put it this way. America was unique. It was marvelous. Its very founding principles are unique, and that's responsible for its immense success. But unfortunately, America is just an idea, and it's been replaced by the United States, which is just one of another 200 nation states that have spread over the whole world like a skin disease. So unfortunately, the US is no longer exceptional. It once was when it was America. And to me, America is an idea, not a place. But, the thing is, one of the few laws that I believe in is the second law of thermodynamics, which is entropy, which is all about everything deteriorating over time. And that happens to good things like the US. And the war between the states, the Spanish-American War, which headed us off on the direction of empire, World War I, World War II, the Roosevelt regime, setting up lots of agencies. Well, the income tax and the Federal Reserve in 1913. But now, the US has transformed itself into a multicultural domestic empire, which is actually what it is now. It's not a country. It used to be a country even 50 years ago. So we're really on a rapid descent downhill, and it's going to wind up with something resembling World War III. The US is on really, really slippery ground. The immense amount of debt, and I think the riots that we saw in the summer of 2020, I think we're going to see a lot more of those. I mean, we can talk about the economic situation, and it's very grim, and we can talk about the political situation. I mean, with the election of November 2020, I'm not a fan of Trump for many reasons, but he would have been vastly preferable to the Biden regime, because these people are actually Bolsheviks. And I say that because they're the same personality types exactly as the Bolsheviks in 1917, or the Jacobins in France in 1789, or the Red Guards in China in the 60s. You got these personality types. Government naturally attracts them because people that like to control physical reality. They've created all the wonderful things we have in the world. And you got people that like to control other people. Yep. And those are the ones that go into government. Why didn't I like Trump? Because he has no philosophical core. He's an opportunist. He's a business guy who flies by the seat of his pants. I mean, this is evident with the monetary policy that he promoted. He said, I'm a big debt guy. And the printing of trillions of dollars didn't start with Biden. It started with Trump. Well, it started before then, actually, with the financial collapse of 2008 when they started this. But Trump accelerated the policy. Because one of Trump's big problems is he's an ultra-nationalist. Yeah. He's a jingoist, and they're very dangerous. It means that you're being treated like a government possession. Fascism is a system that was actually, formulated, crystallized by Benito Mussolini, and it's all about the melding of big business corporations with the state. And that's precisely what's happened in the US where the big, powerful corporations have gotten bigger and more powerful, and they work with and feed into the state. That's what fascism technically is. Capitalism is a system, as Marx defined, where private property, both the means of production and consumer goods, are privately owned and privately controlled. In fascism, it looks like capitalism because these corporations are still privately owned and you can still have your house and all this type of thing, but they're state controlled. I mean, I've lived in Aspen, Colorado for many years. I don't own my house there. The county commissioners own my house. I can't do anything with it, I promise you, without getting permission from the local commissars. This is fascism. I mean, from an economic point of view. It's not a pejorative term. It's a technical economic description of a system.
All right, guys, thanks for coming by. Let me know what you think. Comment, like, share, subscribe, whatever you'd like to do. Till the next one.